it's Lydia from Warwick Street Kitchen in Leamington Spa again. Welcome back to the Brewing Badass Coffee at Home series. This first video is based around water and which water to use at home. The reason I've started here is that for me, this is the first step in brewing coffee at home. It's a really fundamental and very easy thing to fix and correct, and therefore I felt was a really good place to start. As an introduction to this, there are two main reasons, there are a couple of others, but two main reasons or main things that can go wrong with water. The first of which is using tap water or not using filtered water, more importantly. And the second one is the temperature of water. So like I say, these are the two main issues or things that can go wrong with water. Now, in order to go into water in more detail, I need to very briefly explain extraction to you and what I mean by extraction. I am going to cover extraction in much more depth in a later video, but on a very basic level, if I explain extraction as the contact time between water and coffee. So, coffee flavours extract at different rates. For example, the fruity acids in coffee generally extract faster and will extract first. So these are your sour notes, your Granny Smith apples, your citrus fruits. And then generally your dry distillates, so your peaty, ashy, soily flavour notes will extract later. So you can see how the contact time with water can affect the taste of coffee based on how quickly or slowly these flavour notes or compounds extract. Taking that into account, if I were to tell you that hard water has the presence of things like magnesium or calcium or other chemicals, compounds in it, and these things can mute certain flavours in your coffee. For example, the sweetness. So if you were to brew coffee using really hard water, you might find that you're completely lacking any of the caramel flavour note families in your coffee and have a much more bitter brew. Softer water doesn't have as much of an effect on coffee, so if you live in a particularly soft water area, you might just about get away with using tap water. I wouldn't recommend it though. There are other issues with water as well based around pH levels. We could talk about how acidity in water could mute or bring out different flavours in coffee. There is another disclaimer here that I am by no means a water expert. If this subject interests you, I can recommend a book called Water for Coffee. It's by a guy called Maxwell Colonna Dashwood. He was the previous world barista champion. He really knows his stuff on this, and it's a really interesting book. So if this interests you and you want to know more about it, I would start there. Where I come from on water is from a tried and tested place. I brew a Chemex every morning, and I used to use tap water, and I used to be really frustrated that it didn't taste anything like the coffee I was brewing when I came to work. And then when I discovered the world of water and water for coffee, I haven't looked back. I use bottled or filtered water every day, and it really brings the coffee to life. I cannot stress that enough. So taking that into account, you have two options really in terms of using filtered water at home. You can either go down the bottled water route, which can be costly and has implications in terms of your plastic usage and recycling, another thing we're really keen on here. The other option is get yourself one of those Brita filter jugs. As long as you are regularly changing that filter, it's going to function exactly the way you want it to. Also, make sure you are emptying your kettle at home completely before you introduce any filtered water. You don't want any residual tap water at the bottom. And you can also get little lime scale tablets that you can put in the bottom of your kettle, which is going to keep it really clean for you and remove any of that issue. The second main issue that comes up with water at home is the temperature. Now, coffee needs to be brewed between 90 to 95 degrees. This is where the water-soluble components of coffee are most likely to extract. Your basic home kettle is just not precise enough. There are a couple of things you can do about that. First though, I'll explain what happens if your coffee is too hot. You are likely to over-extract your coffee. This is when people refer to burning the beans. This is when you get this really bitter, ashy taste to coffee. If your water is too cool, you could risk under-extracting and not extracting these amazing flavours enough. Like I say, there are again two options for dealing with water temperature. The first is, once you've brought your water to the boil, your filtered water, just leave it for 2 minutes. So it'll come up to 100 degrees, it'll be boiling, let it click off and leave it for 2 minutes to drop the 5 or 6 degrees that you need it to before you brew your coffee. The second is, if you're going to go pro, if you're going to take it really seriously, you can get these fancy kettles. Brewers make a really good one that has a little pouring spout on the top, where you can set the specific temperature that you want your water to get to before it clicks off. That's if you're going to start taking it really seriously. I would recommend that if you do really care about coffee. But if you want to test the theory first, if you want to see if I'm right, see if this crazy woman really knows what she's talking about, let it boil, leave it for 2 minutes, and watch it make a massive difference. I bet you your coffee is noticeably sweeter. So that is me and my opinion on water and my recommendations on water. Next time we're going to cover extraction, something I'm really into and love chatting to people about and love educating people about. So again, let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know if you thought there was something I didn't touch on or something you didn't quite get. I'll happily go back over things. Again, pop on in, chat to us, let us know what you think. But look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.